Hey there, how are you today? Well, welcome to the second episode of
It Had to Be Said.
A satirical, fake news, look at politics and other aspects of our society. Our first story takes us to the Deep South, where state officials perhaps don't know as much about today's technology as they should. The state of Mississippi is in a unique situation as the result of an innovative step they took to raise money to address the state's status as the poorest in the nation. The state's top official explained, "We decided there is no way we will ever get out of last place without some big-time funding from a new source. Sucking the government teat has just not been enough for us. Therefore, the state government decided to list the state on eBay with a buy-it-now price of $50 billion, or 2 years of their annual budget. We assumed that most wealthy benefactors, who would be the only ones who could afford us, would be true conservatives who would go along with our current policies. We certainly didn't expect what actually occurred." The problem began with an error in the state's eBay listing. While they did post it with a buy-it-now price of $50 billion, they also listed a starting bid of $100 with no reserve. I don't think they have a clue about how eBay actually works, stated the eventual winner, Mikey Brewer of Newton, Massachusetts, who won the state with a bid of $101, making the 12-year-old, who was the only bidder, the official owner of one of the 50 United States. Brewer's mom, Christy, assured us that Mikey is very responsible and wouldn't do anything crazy with his new property. The money he spent to buy the state, he saved that up from doing chores for several months. But Big Mike, that's his dad, and I are both pretty liberal, and Mikey is very concerned about climate change and social and economic equality. So there may be some changes in store for Mikeyssippi. That's what we're calling it now. Asked for a comment, the Mrs. Mikeyssippi official admitted, "Yes, that was a bit of a cluster snafu. We really don't know what's going to happen now. The young fellow who won the auction seems very nice, but most of us in the government are older gentlemen, and we don't know how we're going to handle being told what to do by a 12-year-old from Massachusetts." A poll of voters in the state yielded the almost unanimous sentiment that this would have to be a drastic improvement in leadership. We tried to reach Governor Mikey for his thoughts, but he was at baseball practice, and then he had homework to do, so he was unavailable for comment. Our nation's judges are finally getting with fashion trends and sprucing up those dull black robes they wear in court. One judge, redirecting from a question about partisanship in the courts, instead turned to an exciting announcement. I was invited to a stock car race this year, and as I walked down the pit lane, it struck me how everywhere I looked, the cars, the uniforms, even the pit road wall, they're all covered with sponsorship decals. And they're so colorful. And I thought, hey, we have these vast swaths of black robes. Wouldn't it be nice to liven them up with some colorful logos? Here, take a look. The judge pointed to his robe, still black, but with a large, colorful panel on the back with the name and logo of a nationwide crafts shop. I've talked with 5 of the other judges on the court, and they all think it's a great idea. One is talking with a gun lobby group, and another is looking for a beer sponsorship. His old favorites have declined, but I can think of one beer that could really use some conservative support right about now, so I'm pretty sure he'll find one. The judge noted that the sponsorships would only go on the backs of the robes to avoid distraction during court proceedings. We will add some poses to the court photos, though, with our backs turned and us looking over our shoulders. When asked what the other 3 judges thought of the idea, his smile faltered, and he admitted, "Well, I haven't actually spoken with them about it yet. They're just so picky about impartiality and the court's image. I imagine they'll just stick with basic black." Asked if, as a leader of the court, those should not be his concerns as well, he shook his head sadly. "Used to be, but I gave all that up when the Senate decided to let a circus clown fill a third of the court." Have you ever looked at those little lumps in your cat's litter box, all covered with grit, and thought, that looks like an appetizing snack food? Not me either, but somebody has, and we now have a product for them. We call them excrementos, an all-natural snack food, fully recycled and crappalicious. Chad Muslinski, director of product development at a big snacks firm, described the new release at an industry panel yesterday. They're bite-sized, so you can throw a whole handful of them in your mouth at once. We replaced the cat litter with panko breadcrumbs, so we expect they'll be super popular with the culinary crowd. And we have 4 exciting flavors: wasabi, red hot chili, habanero, and of course, flamin' barbecue. When a reporter noted that all of the flavors sounded extra spicy, Muslinski clarified, "Of course, we had to use extra flavorful spice profiles to cover up the taste of, well, cat poop." After several in the audience expressed doubt over their sellability, Muslinski pointed out, "Hey, we've already had to file proactive suits against a whole bunch of street food stands who've been stealing this idea that we just had for years now, so we know it will sell." Muslinski wagged his finger at the audience and asserted, "And as an added hook, we say that they are deep fried and golden brown on the package. Nobody can resist anything that's deep fried and golden brown." When asked what the company is doing to prevent possible toxoplasma infections from the cat-related products, especially among pregnant women, Muslinski replied confidently, "Not a damn thing. You see, we never say that excrementos are food. In fact, in the fine print, we say that they are health supplements. And there's no regulation or policing of those things. It's the Wild West out there, if you just know how to label things right." Muslinski offered large bowls of samples and invited the audience to come up and give them a try. "Don't worry about the flies, just wave your hands and they'll go away." Inopportunely, everyone seemed to have an urgent need to visit the restroom at that exact moment. Asked what extra precautions Catholic schools in Boston are taking to keep their staff and students safe, Archbishop O'Malley confided that their diocese has a special advantage, a secret weapon, you might say. Asked to elaborate, he winked and replied sotto voce, "Jesuits." The Jesuits have always been one of the more militant of the religious orders, known as Soldiers of God or God's Marines. Apparently, some chapters have retained that role within their parishes. The Archbishop elaborated. We've stationed a handful of Jesuit brothers at each school. Sure, they teach, but they also patrol, and they're armed with large steel crucifixes at the end of extra long loops of their rosary beads. These holy warriors constantly practice twirling and throwing their rosary lassos. They can take a bad guy down at 40 feet, wrapping him up tight in loops of God's chains. Correcting a reporter's assumption that the offenders would then be immediately turned over to the authorities, the Archbishop shook his head, well, archly. Oh, no. First we call in the Holy Sisters from the Mother of Eternal Flagellation order for a come-to-Jesus talk with the stray lamb. Oh boy, if you thought the Jesuits were intimidating. The Archbishop wrapped up the interview confidently. No, we're not worried about the security in our schools. After all, the only thing that stops a bad guy is a good guy with a cross. Hey, thanks for watching. You know the drill, and I'll see you next time on